along the Russian and Ukrainian border now reaching a boiling point. A senior Pentagon official saying the Russian invasion has started in Ukraine.
Now, this is a situation that we have been watching for weeks. U.S. leaders told U.S. citizens to leave that area, and U.S. troops were put on alert. And now Russia's president is announcing a special military operation that's now underway. We're hearing reports of explosions at Ukraine's capital in Kyiv. ABC's Zorin Shah has the latest developments from Washington.
Belying their weeks of insistent claims that they had no plans to invade Ukraine, instead blaming the U.S. and its allies for the crisis, Russia moving into forward positions and crossing the Ukrainian border. Just hours before the invasion, Ukraine's president denouncing Russia's claim that Ukraine is a threat and emphasizing again Ukraine doesn't want war, making a plea for peace. Zelensky speaking in Russian to appeal directly to their population. Those pleas for an end to the escalating crisis blatantly ignored. ABC News learning that Zelensky called President Vladimir Putin only to be met with silence. The invasion now triggering fresh concerns of an all-out war. Russian state news reporting that the two Kremlin-controlled separatist regions inside Ukraine that Putin declared as independent requested help from Putin and the Russian military in taking on Ukrainian forces.
This is right out of the Russian playbook. To manufacture a provocation as a justification for invading Ukraine.
For weeks, President Biden warned an attack was imminent. And day after day, satellite images from private company Maxar showed the continued buildup of Russian resources, troops, and supplies along the Ukrainian border. The U.S. and its allies imposing new sanctions after Germany said it would not certify that new controversial gas pipeline from Russia to Germany, Nord Stream 2. And President Biden has now sanctioned the company that built it. Russia undeterred by the sanctions. The U.S. now prepared to follow through their series of warnings to Vladimir Putin. Massive penalties like export controls on critical technologies and full blocking sanctions of Russia's major banks.
It won't be bloodless. There will be suffering, there will be sacrifice. And all of that must and should be laid at his feet.
Ukraine's parliament voting to declare a state of emergency, mobilizing thousands of military reservists ready to aid hundreds of thousands of troops in defense of their country. President Biden planning to meet with the G7 Thursday morning. That meeting now with a heightened urgency after Russia attacked Ukraine. In Washington, Zorin Shah, ABC News.
Of course, we're going to continue to monitor the breaking news situation both on air and online. So we're going to send updates to your phone as they happen. And we also invite you to check in with Good Morning San Antonio as this develops.
Let's go to a Nightbeat update now. Castroville's police chief on administrative leave, Brian Jackson, accused of using a racial slur several times during a murder investigation. The concern brought to light by the Medina County sheriff, who says he heard the inappropriate language caught on body camera. Castroville City Council announced the move to place their police chief on administrative leave after an hours-long meeting. Castroville's mayor saying the city does not tolerate discrimination and are investigating. He also said, in part, quote, "We believe in all human rights, so we will not discipline simply on rumors or hearsay, but we will act decisively if we determine guilt of discrimination," end quote. A similar incident happened with a San Antonio police officer in 2018. You may remember this one. A body-worn camera captured Officer Tim Garcia repeatedly using the N-word during the arrest of a young black man at a downtown mall. San Antonio's police chief fired Officer Garcia, but an arbitrator reversed that decision in late 2019. A new policy on discipline continues to be discussed between the city of San Antonio and the police union.
Now, police say the last suspect in a Northside shootout from Monday turned himself in. If you remember, 2 people died in that gunfire. One of them was a suspect, the other an innocent bystander. But people who saw the attack tell the night team's John Paul Barajas that this tragedy could have been a lot deadlier.
Police say 17-year-old Jerry Ortiz is the 5th and final suspect that got away from Monday's shootout on Mariposa and Blanco. He turned himself into police. Ortiz looked confused when asked about the innocent victim in his 60s who was hit by one of the many bullets fired while he was at home watching TV. For those in the area, they consider themselves lucky more people who had nothing to do with the shooting weren't hurt.
But then all of a sudden we started hearing these gunshots and couple of shots came through to our store, and like for example over here, down here, and then the other one is up here, down here, behind the t-shirts, one up there.
Angelo Montiero was working at the gas station where the shooting took place. We counted at least 6 bullet holes, many of which made it through not just the walls, but through shelves employees and customers were hiding behind. So one of the bullets came through and actually grazed right here.
And then it went to the chips packets in there.
And you were laying
right there. Then when I saw this thing, I was like, oh man, I almost got hit.
Police tell us aside from the man in his 60s, 2 suspects were also hit. A juvenile who died on scene and another that was taken to the hospital in critical condition. How do you know what started the shooting?
At this time, it was just an altercation. There is no reason, there's no motive as what we know what initially started that.
And you just heard it. Police still trying to piece together a lot of things in this investigation, but they told us in total there was 5 suspects. The 4 that are still alive are facing capital murder charges, and all of them are in their either teens or 20s. At Public Safety Headquarters, John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
John Paul, thank you. Now we're going to turn to the pandemic. Metro Health reporting 161 new cases of COVID. Also, 5 more people died. Our positivity rate is finally below 10%, and the city says that our risk level is improving. Now, when it comes to hospitalizations, 448 people are in the hospital right now with COVID. 113 are in the ICU, and 58 are using ventilators.
A visit from the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, first stopped at the Mays Cancer Center at UT Health San Antonio. Her focus on the cancer health disparities in our Latino community. Doctors said they are seeing twice the number of liver and stomach cancers in the Latino community compared to other populations. UT Health also pointed out many people missed cancer screenings during the pandemic. A White House initiative focused on speeding up the progress to fight cancer. The First Lady also visited Joint Base San Antonio Lackland, where she discussed what military families are experiencing, especially when it comes to their children with disabilities.
We're going to continue to work on these things, and that's why we're here, because we have to know, where the holes are in the fabric to be able to, sew it all together.
Among the issues raised during today's visit was the need to grant extended time in one location so military families can get the necessary medical treatment.
Cold and a little damp outside tonight, and that's going to be the case through the rest of the night and even the first part of tomorrow, including the morning commute. But luckily, not a whole lot in terms of overall precipitation. However, what is falling out there, especially along and north of Highway 90, could turn into a little bit of icing on exposed and elevated surfaces. You see these little pink colors streaming northward very quickly. Those are little light sprinkles that even could contain some sleet pellets, particularly in the hill country. But locally, we're mostly just seeing reports of drizzle and not necessarily even sprinkles or light showers. Nonetheless, that moisture in the air, that drizzle, that mistiness, when combined with our colder temperatures, could freeze on contact to some of those elevated and exposed surfaces. I mean, we're talking mainly the street signs, backyard deck, lawn furniture, parked cars, mailboxes, stuff like that for the most part. Surface roads should just be damp off and on tonight and to start the day tomorrow. We're just going to watch the bridges and overpasses, but a lot of them have been pre-treated. Port SA 32, 31 at the International Airport, Converse at 30 degrees. You get into the upper 20s in the hill country. Temperatures not moving much the rest of the night, but the farther south you go, the warmer it is, and you're just looking at a little bit of dampness here and there. We're going to talk more about when we're finally going to warm up, because it's not tomorrow, right near 40 degrees. We'll get to that in a little bit later on, and of course, more on this wintry precipitation and what you can expect for the commute in a bit.
Adam, thank you. New tonight, San Antonio could get millions of taxpayer dollars if a downtown building is sold. And it all has to do with the Grand Hyatt Hotel, which sits right next to the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center downtown. Years ago, the city put up bonds for that hotel, and now the Hyatt company is planning to sell that building to a liability company from Arizona that operates a nonprofit organization. And if this deal goes through, the city would get some benefits.
We're removing the city's requirement to back any sort of debt that was issued for the bond. We're getting all of our money paid back that's owed from the ground lease since 2008 and the $10 million we put in when the hotel was closed.
And that's not all, because the city would also still own the land that the hotel actually sits on. City Council is scheduled to vote on that proposal next week. And the city says that despite the change, the Hyatt would still operate as a hotel.
Financial records show a $1 million payout for the former head of CPS Energy. Pretty nice last check, huh? Paula Gold-Williams announced her resignation months after fallout from last year's power failures in February. The defenders confirmed that she was paid more than $751,000 from a non-qualified retirement plan that was taxable when earned. Another $272,000 was given from unused vacation pay over several years. CPS Energy officials declined to provide her pension amount. The utility has faced questions over spending and is in the middle of trying to find new leadership. Mayor Ron Nirenberg says the utility will also undergo an audit.
To look at, corporate culture, corporate compensation, operations, that sort of thing, top down, get a fresh perspective of how that organization is functioning, particularly as we transition leadership.
It will be up to the CPS Board of Trustees to decide who will conduct that outside audit. They will also decide if Rudy Garza remains as president, if they take the interim tag off his president and CEO title of the utility. The search for a permanent replacement is ongoing.
So this is certainly not surprising. Homes are a lot more expensive. We all know this, but there is help for first-time homeowners now. The San Antonio Housing Authority is selling 28 one-story homes, and they start at $150,000. The homes are on the west side in the Villa de Fortuna subdivision on Precious Street. Now, Saha says that buyers would need two things. One, to have their income analyzed, and two, to be able to qualify for the middle-income homeownership program. Coming up, it is controversial, and many of you are against it, using animals for tests. Researchers say that it has led to life-saving medical devices, but we're asking, is there an alternative? One researcher is saying, yes, there is. And that's where something called bioprinting is coming into play. We're going to look at how that works next on the Nightbeat.
It is a tool meant to save lives amid this pandemic. But before the COVID vaccine was used on humans, it was tested on animals.
And actually, some of those tests happened right here at the Texas Biomedical Research Institute for Pfizer's vaccine. But the question is there an alternative to animal testing?
Yeah, that's part of the focus of a new episode of KSAT Explains that's out now. Here's Myra Arthur with a look.
You have heard the claims that animals are treated inhumanely in testing facilities, or that the idea of testing anything on a living being that cannot consent to that testing is unethical or immoral. So what's the answer? How do researchers continue to innovate and create safe and effective medical treatments without testing them on animals first? Well, a solution may already be in the works.
We are really working a lot on engineering these in vitro models of human tissues and organs, basically how to recapitulate the structures and functions of human tissues and organs outside the human body.
Dr. Shrek Zhang works in bioengineering. He sees both sides, the incredible medical advancements made possible by animal modeling, but also the ethical dilemmas associated with the practice. It's part of the reason why he is working on alternatives in the field of bioprinting. Think of it as an extension of 3D printing. But instead of creating something 3D using a material like plastic, bioprinting uses biomaterial, and that could include human cells. And what's printed? Organs or parts of organs. And there's another potential alternative as well, creating human tissues on a chip.
That is to begin to recapitulate lungs, liver, spleens by adult stem cells, and add some other cells in a matrix and develop some models that could eventually allow us to move to human trials without animals.
People have been working extensively on these so-called organ-on-chip devices. Basically, these are little kind of microfluidic chip devices that are allowing a lot of the dynamic microenvironments to be created.
Dynamic in the sense that they work. For example, parts of lungs or blood vessels recreated on a chip can expand and contract. Scientists can see how organs and tissues interact, giving researchers a way outside the human body or that of animals to discover how diseases and treatments affect the inside of a body.
The reason that why we're doing this in vitro kind of modeling is to really try to, of course, at some point eliminate some of the animal studies in certain kind of areas and also reduce the animal use for some other areas.
But these technologies are still very much under research themselves. Dr. Zhang says that printing something as complex as a fully functioning kidney or a heart, for example, hasn't been done yet, but the potential is there. Check out the full episode of KSAT Explains Animal Research by scanning the QR code you see on your screen or go to ksat.com/explains. We dive into the animal research done at Texas Biomed, how primates have been used for COVID study, and more. For KSAT Explains, I'm Myra Arthur.
And we're hovering right around freezing outside as we take a look at live cam. 30 degrees now down at the airport, but you can see no drops on the camera here overlooking the airport, but there is some drizzle and a little bit of mistiness out there that could lead to a little bit of a light glaze, mainly on elevated surfaces. A lot to talk about in a little short amount of time. Let's get right to it. Taking a look at the maps. Notice not a lot of precipitation across the state. The heaviest activity is farther to the northeast, up into Arkansas and even Missouri. Around here, we're just dealing with that kind of nuisance moisture, the drizzle, the mistiness, the passing sprinkles. But combined with temperatures around freezing, it can lead to a light glaze. Here's our futurecast going through the night tonight. More of the same, drizzle, some passing sprinkles, but where temperatures are cold enough, and that's mainly along and north of Highway 90 in Bexar County and even eastward to Gonzales and Seguin and northward. That's where we could have some of those exposed elevated surfaces with a very little bit of a light glaze there, off and on through the night and very first thing tomorrow morning. But I do think overall accumulations are going to be very low because of limited moisture to work with, and most of the day tomorrow just cloudy and cold. So we're watching the bridges and overpasses, but they've been pre-treated, so that's promising. And a light glaze mostly just expected on the street signs, backyard decks, a little bit of lawn furniture, parked cars, stuff like that. Surface roads, just damp at times. A little dampness out there. 31 right now officially at the airport. Helotes at 30, Bernie 28 along with Bulverde. Temperatures are favorable, but they're not going to fall very much tonight. Actually, they should pretty much just hold steady. And then I think by early tomorrow morning, be near to slightly above freezing in San Antonio. Hill country, though, 7 a.m. temperatures in the upper 20s. Tomorrow afternoon, not much of a warm up. I mean, near 40 degrees. 41 Helotes, 40 Stone Oak, Elmendorf, 42 for a high temperature. And the sprinkles and drizzle will be confined to the early morning hours, then just cloudy and cold the rest of the day. Not much of a breeze. By Sunday, sunny, back to 60 degrees. And if you're looking for something a little warmer, closer to 70, which is near average for this time of year, early next week by Monday. But this cloudy cold stretch lasts through Saturday.
So a few days to bundle up.
Yes. All right, we'll get through it.
Yeah.
All right, so word is, it is possible that a big name can go to Monday Night Football, the broadcasting side.
There is a report tonight that says Troy Aikman is very much almost done deal with ESPN and Monday Night Football to change networks, going from Fox to Monday Night Football. Will that happen? Well, the money is on the table, they're telling us. Will the Cowboys keep Coop? That's another question before free agency begins. And you know the old saying, this ain't my first rodeo? For Lonnie Walker, the fourth of the Spurs, it was. Coming up.
First rodeo. I've been trying to go, but usually we're on the trip, and then we had break, then we're back on the trip. And usually when we come back from the break, they're almost done. So it was great that, I got to go finally.
Lonnie Walker IV taking in the San Antonio Rodeo last night with teammate Keldon Johnson in Big Board Sports. But first,
pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
The Dallas Cowboys have some decisions to make when free agency opens next month. Who stays and who goes? One of the decisions revolves around star wide receiver Amari Cooper, where the Cowboys must decide if his 5-year, $100 million contract that he signed in March of 2020 continues, because there is a clause in the contract that allows the Cowboys to pull out of the deal. But that decision has to be made before March 21st, because that's when Coop's $20 million million salary for the 2022 season is guaranteed, according to Mike Fisher. If they cut Cooper, they would gain $16 million in cap space that they could use to sign Michael Gallup and other receivers such as Cedric Wilson. They also have the option to trade Cooper, but that would come later before June 1st. Former Cowboys quarterback, three-time Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman is in negotiations to become the new lead analyst on Monday Night Football on ESPN. New York Post that now is reporting that Fox lead NFL analyst is looking to sign a deal comparable or better than Tony Romo's 10-year, $180 million deal with CBS. San Antonio Spurs back at the practice floor today for the first time since the All-Star break. Everyone but DeJounte Murray having a nice long vacation from the court. Even though he wasn't alone in Cleveland, teammate Lonnie Walker IV was there to support DeJounte after he fought his way back from a knee injury in 2018 to be named an All-Star for the first time in his career. So why did Lonnie attend?
That's family right there. And I think, I'm the younger brother and how he has taken me in as like my rookie year compared to now. Our love and our bond has continuously grown, especially just with his family. I mean, I talk to his family more than I talk to him half of the time, So being a first-time All-Star, it's only right that I get to be there and enjoy something that not too many people get to accomplish. And, being able to see that smile on his face, it means the world to me.
And when Lonnie returned, he got together with teammate Keldon Johnson. They were able to attend the rodeo last night, and they picked a good night to attend because it was extreme bull riding night.
It was amazing. The environment was something like no other. I never got to experience something like that. I'm from Pennsylvania, so seeing people bull riding and doing everything else, it's an experience that you truly can't explain until you're there. The adrenaline, the excitement that you get is one to none. Those bulls are huge, and to see these people riding these bulls, and then you got to be truly fearless and courageous to be able to do something like that. So, my hat is off to them.
All right, here's the matchup. They'll go back to work on Friday in Washington. And look who was in town today. Gentle Ben Crenshaw, the two-time Texas Open champion, part of the 100-year celebration of the Valero Texas Open. He's on hand today for the placement of a historical marker, the Oak Hills Country Club, that hosted the Texas Open for 24 years, where Crenshaw won in 1973 and again in 1986.
Some of my fondest memories are here as a professional golfer, and I'm very thankful to Oak Hills, and I'm so glad that they mean so much to the history of our game in Texas.
This year's Texas Open will be held at the J.W. Marriott TPC Resort Course from March 31st to April the 3rd, and Rory McIlroy is committed to play. Bull riding the San Antonio Rodeo coming up. The Antonian girls basketball team opened up their playoff run on Tuesday night with a 58-38 victory over Houston St. Pius. The Apaches took control in the second half by outscoring the Panthers 19-11 in the third quarter, thanks in part to balanced scoring. Antonia had 4 scorers finish in double figures, led by Carly Wensel's 16 points. The Apaches are happy to move on, but they know the real test is still ahead of them.
That was a great first-round matchup, so just coming out, and it wasn't an easy game, even though we won by 20. Everybody had to play their hearts out to get that win. We've had a good look at a run every year, but this year being able to go again just like we have every other year, it's not just another year for us. It's time to prove who we are and that we are number 4 in the state.
And the defending TAP 6A state champion Antonian boys basketball team also advanced 72-41 victory over Houston St. Pius. Xavier Martinez scored a team-high 23 points in that win. Since we had extreme bulls last night, the Cowboys getting the night off tonight, so let's show you some of the oh my gosh moments from last night that kept the bullfighters Cody Webster and Chuck Swisher busy. Lucchese Morris on board assault and battery in the second round. He lived up to his name. Not only does the bull collide with his head, but then he gets hung up in the rigging momentarily. Then how about the way you don't want to get off a bull? Colby Riley is thrown head over heels. Look at this. This is not a good way to dismount.
Wow.
No wonder they needed the night off. Back at it tomorrow. I could take a timeout after that one.
Yeah, exactly. T.O.
We'll be right back.
Some freezing drizzle off and on tonight, then a few sprinkles in the morning. Really little to no impact, just some of those elevated and exposed surfaces could have a light glaze. Remaining cold though, 40 for the high tomorrow and pretty much the same through Saturday with clouds. By Sunday, it's back to sunshine and 60.
Just wear something with a hoodie.
Absolutely. By the way, we continue to monitor the situation in Ukraine as Russia has apparently invaded, well, the very latest on GMSA at 4:30 in the morning.